The main idea that we wanted to try to do again was to try to get people together that work together. So on this floor, and I'll swing you through a corridor here in a second, this floor is basically all the folks who work with news in some way. Creative services, art department, news department. This is their floor. One of the most interesting things we came up with is our art department, which I'll walk you through. Tour coming through. Pretend you're working. Come on, SETI, come on. Pretend you're working. This is a very unusual art department, isn't it? It's like, you get in that way, you get in that way. It's between the two.
Not yet, anyway.
The guys here work primarily with the Adobe products and also VizRT, which is the graphics package that we use. They produce all the original artwork. They produce the templates that are also used by the station as part of the look and feel of the station. It's all done here. There are multiple stations for folks as they work. So come on through this way, and no, you guys can go through. We're crossing you.
Crossing over.
I'll bring them into the DMZ here. We have great names for places. Like, for example, I won't take you upstairs, but outside the general manager's office is a wonderful waiting area. It's called the Airport Lounge, because that's what it looks like. It's just between the furniture and the table, it looks like an airport lounge. This is the demilitarized zone you're standing in right here. That's the Creative Services Department. This is where the News Department starts. So, again, what you have over here, and I'll take a peek, these are dedicated for the Creative Services folks. This is a little high-end audio production / graphics creation. You notice we do have some tape machines. Those tape machines are networked to basically the routing is video and all the data is on a data router. So if we have an old tape that has come over from some historic value, or in the case of these folks with Creative Services, if somebody comes in with a tape and they need to ingest it, you pop it in there, and then any one of these rooms here, these are Final Cut editing rooms, when you select that tape machine, let's make sure everybody gets around, when you select that tape machine on the router, you get control of it. So you now have control of that machine in any one of these rooms so that you can actually do your editing. We don't use it a lot, but we put that in because there would be a case for this. So each one of these is a Final Cut Pro editing suite. So all of the promotional material you see on the station is all basically created in these production suites. They're all identical. The equipment, like John described, you can share all the video between master control or on the news stand. You can, especially these folks, when they're putting together, promotions about what happened on air, or the flyers, who knows what, they're grabbing from the news system, putting it here, pushing it to master control, and it all happens with that glue that Grass Valley has supplied in the interface with Final Cut. So they have all of these machines, or all these rooms are dedicated. All the folks that work in graphics and work in Creative Services are all in these offices. I'll swing you around and back so we can head down the hall. Yeah, this entire floor is elevated, and same with downstairs in master control area. Well, we're going to come back to where you're standing, so I'm just bringing the group around. We did that because it was so difficult in the old building trying to manage cable trays. And we just figured, we're building the brand new building.
One big cable tray.
There it is. Now what we do though is we have raceways under the floor. So there are definite paths. The wires just don't go willy-nilly. If you're going to run a cable to here, it's going to come down and then it's going to split down here. So we don't take the shortest path. All the environmental systems in here are all controlled by computers. So there are 148 fan box units in the ceilings that control all the temperatures, control the humidity, control fan speeds, airflow. It took a long time to get that working right. We had a lot of people freezing and a lot of people hot for months before we could actually work all that out. So as you move down the hall here, we're now getting into the main area where the news people are and reporters are. You'll recognize some names on desks. It's pretty well, you know, just open seating. We have an internal house cable TV system that's basically a clear QAM RF system. We bring in CNN and others on DirecTV, and then we remodulate them on house frequencies. We have 4 internal HD modulators. We also have a lot of split screens. Like here, this is one of the competition monitors that show basically, you know, 4 stations, and then there's another page that shows the other 4. So it all depends on which ones they want to put up. We get an idea of what's going on. This area here, hey John, tour's coming through. This area here is where the media managers work. These folks here are responsible for making sure that all the items that are edited over here in these 8, well actually there's 10 edit booths, make it into the servers, make it into the rundown, put it on air. So it's a lot of responsibility. They're also watching the health of the system, looking for any errors that may happen. All of these are based on Grass Valley's Aurora editing, which used to be called Edius. But they're all Aurora editors, and they're all networked to the SANs. And the way the system sets up, you'll see some rooms have an X on them, some rooms have a Y on them. That's where their primary storage is. So if I'm in a Y room and I edit a story, it gets saved to Y, replicated to X. If I'm in the X room, it gets saved on X, replicated to Y. And again, this is where the media managers play a role, because as we get close on deadlines, got to make sure it really got across. You know. How much panic does that cause you, John?
Well, it's never a panic until 2 minutes later.
And again, we continue to try to find tools to help these guys, because a lot of this stuff, the summits were basically, this was the first full-blown Grass Valley Summit install. You know, so we got version 1 of those. And the nice thing with these servers is that they are software codecs versus their old system. It was hardware codecs, and it understands so many different flavors. It can natively play, you know, DV100. It can natively play QuickTime. It can play long GOP MPEG. It can play, you know, AVI files. You know, whatever, you know, that you need to do, it can play it out. So it helps us a lot. The house standard is DV100, but it can do XDCAM 50, it can do a number of things. So it helps us if somehow we get a file that hits a landing pad here in the building that's in a different format. We don't have to go through the flip and transition process to get it to air. Eventually we will, but you know, that's where it hits. And again, the newsroom has a variety of monitors. This is, you know, at nighttime it's not quite as occupied as it is in the day. In the daytime it's really busy in here, you know. But it works very well overall. I mean, you can see the second floor offices here. It's a nice bright workspace. You got the open windows, and the architects did a very, very nice job of laying all this out. This room over here is the microwave reception room, or they call it TMR on the drawings, transmission microwave. We'll pop in there and tour coming through.
You mean all this technology hasn't taken that 2 minutes to air lump out of the guy's throat?
No, not at all. No, in fact, it's worse now. Because you can do it faster, you wait to the last 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Because, you know, I'm serious. Because it's like, at least you used to pause to put a tape label on it. Okay, well, we don't do that. Okay?
Yes.
So the folks who work in this room, it can vary from 1 to 3 people depending on what's going on, if it's a, you know, the 5 o'clock through 6:30 wheel, if it's just the 11, if it's a weekend. But they're responsible for basically tuning in all the different live and satellite shots. We have numbers of microwave receive sites scattered all around, you know, the city and down in Wilmington and up in Trenton. Everything comes back to this place here. So There's a number of sites downtown, a couple of sites out in Roxborough at our transmitter. It gives us the ability to put up multiple live shots at the same time, work with the closest signal. So they're kind of really hopping. There's 3 operational areas. They're all identical equipment. So no matter where you go, whether it's this group here, this group here, or this group here, it's all the same stuff. A person sits back here sometimes and helps coordinate with all the things that go on in the field. And then we have earthquake insurance, which are these guys. These are P2 recorders. And what you basically do is you plug the P2 card in and roll it in a record, just like a tape machine. Why? Because sometimes computers lie. I don't want to destroy the world for everybody, but they say they're recording and they're not. And you get to the end of a 20-minute satellite ingest that you paid $55 a minute for, whatever the hell, and nothing. So we slide the P2 cards in, we pop them in record. We also, again, have a couple of different varieties of tape machines, Beta, Beta SX, DVC Pro. You know, why? If a stringer walks in with a tape, they're not going to come in with a P2 card. So we can put it in, pop it, and these all go to ingest servers. There are 16 different real-time ingest channels that serve this room, in addition to a number of FTP landing pads and a bunch of other things that can go on. But they can do 16 real-time recordings. They have a scheduling program that's actually sitting right over here. And when they program it, it'll switch the router, move the satellite dish, pop the server into record, whatever you need to do, so it can help to try to schedule and automate all the ingest. This is a very, very busy place at times, parts of the day, and other times of the day, it's like waiting for the news to roll around. I don't know how many folks saw KYW, but they used a lot of barcode projections. Instead, what we did is we went with, you know, cheaper monitors and VIPs made by Evertz to kind of break everything up. And you'll see these throughout the building to give you audio and video confirmation. They also have the ability to program for errors, which when we get to master control, we can show you it helps those guys be able to tell, like, if there's no closed captioning, or if the audio's out of phase, or some other problem, it will send an alert, and they can at least see on a monitor what the problem is and have a heads up. Because this is just really too much information to try to watch at the same time. Yeah.
Another question, how does it handle the precise length of the show time as you're...
Through ENPS, through ENPS. As they go, they get a ripple bar that keeps showing them how much time is left in the show. And it's all estimated at the bottom, not on this rundown, but at the one that the producer uses. So the workflow starts with the producer selecting the stories and the cameras and the read. And the director comes and refines it by picking up, maybe I'll have a different camera angle, maybe I'll do this or that, and inputs that information, imports into Ignite. They make a change, they do another import. There's in fact, if I hit this, it'll update the rundown, but there's nothing to really update right now. But it will have updated any changes that were made. They pop right where I am in the story, and from that point on, everything's been reshuffled. So all the graphics, all the playback from the servers, everything get reshuffled from the one position. Something happens to this, you switch. And the switching, if I can find the mouse that works with it, it's usually controlled from the back row. So I may have to go back there. But there's this panel here, and what it'll actually do, if I go back there, I can probably run it. It will flip everything in the front to the back and the back to the front. All I got to do is get a mouse. Normally when we're back here, this is what the guy in the back will help with. So when I hit this button now, everything back here will transfer up front. Yep, I got to hit the button. There we go. Now they're all up front. And the front system's now back here.
Your TD switch, so
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, so I just,
TDs or directors?
TDs and, directors are TDs here. They always have been.
Right.
Yeah. So the directors switch it. So now I've just literally switched, and again, I'll switch back, you know, put that machine back up front.
How were they learning the system?
It took, we didn't rush anybody. We bought these two systems here in the old building. We put them in October 2008. We did our first newscast, which was the noon newscast, in February. We gave them from October to February to learn. February to April, we stayed with just the noon news, shaking out all the bugs. And then we went to doing the weekend morning shows, then the weekday morning shows, then the 5 to 6:30 shows, and then finally the 11.
All in the other building.
All in the old building before we moved here. So when we moved here, piece of cake. No training required. Just moved right in and went. You know?
You didn't lose anybody?
No, everybody kept their brains. It went okay. It was a one. And again,
It really is a sea change.
yeah,
It really is.
I couldn't be more sincere when I was saying before. These are wonderful folks, and Terry had a large part to play with driving people in the right direction. Now, you wonder why the audio council. I think I explained that in the talk. If you're doing, a choir, if you're doing the mass, if you're doing, a cooking show, the director has no idea who's going to speak when.
Yeah.
So we put an audio operator down there. There's one pot that opens up on Ignite, that's that console, and he punches the buttons over here, just like a regular switcher.
So that was the question I was going to
Yeah.
have for you. There's obviously some shows where you've got to be writing.
Right, but for news, you can see how you can script it.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to do news production, promos, all kinds of things you can do really, really easily, with just those tools. And the best part is, change the rundown, everything moves with it. All the clips, all the video, everything moves. The camera positions, whatever. It all moves, enters into the system. And you saw how long that rundown took. If I hit an import, let's see, it's going to be about 5 seconds. Let's just see. Come on, update rundown. Okay, the button doesn't want to work now. Let's do it from up here. Let's see, it's probably because, there we go. What did that take, 5 seconds? If that? It wasn't even that long. So if that's the case, you make your change, import it. The intercom systems, the directors use, producers use. We also use the intercoms to handle switching between rooms. We can put this room on with the news studio. We can put the news studio on, or the production studio on with that room. And it's basically GPIs for the intercom system, switches all the monitors, all the auxiliary rows, everything. So it's a one-button setup. This one, the robotic cameras can tie into Ignite. We built the system in. We don't like the production value. When I take it in the studio, which is the next stop, it's dangerous. I don't like the fact that people here could be hitting this button and rolling a camera or rolling something. And what's going to happen then is you're going to have a situation where somebody could get hurt.
Yeah.
So we've still put robotic operators out there to watch over everything. And I think it's just good sense. Plus, it adds to production value, too. That guy is sitting there.
Hit that button and it stops the rope.
Yeah, if it was an emergency, but like I said, now here, like there, I've opened up the 3 mics and everything. I want to fade to black, I hit that button. So, bad side of this, quoting a director, Dave Schneider, who does a lot of the 11 o'clock news, the beauty about Ignite is it does exactly what you tell it to do. The bad thing about Ignite is it does exactly what you tell it to do. So,
Powerful computers make powerful mistakes.
that's right. Let's go down and show you the studio, and then we'll hit, from there, we'll hit the bottom floor.
Hey, on digital console?
Oh, this will go off in a timer. I don't have to do that. That'll go off. So this room is basically set up identical, except it's smaller and it's meant specifically just to do news, so there's no audio console in there. It's just a straight Ignite room, but the equipment is identical. 2 redundant systems, both in the back. The rest of this floor down here is the sports office, the weather office, and such. I mean, it's nice to look at, but it's offices. Uh-oh, dueling tours. Who's got the right of way?
If you keep right, I think you're okay.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
I think that's such a big group.
I don't know.
They like your credibility more.
It might be.
That's a $5.
Huh? These are bright lines?
No, what's the height?
Oh, the height of the 19 feet, and the lighting is at somewhere between 17 and 15, depending on what the art or the lighting director did. We have 4 Ikegami cameras in here. Vinton Robotics. This is all pretty standard fare that most folks have, We have a little robotics control station over there. Like I said in the other room, it's one thing I don't want to tie in because my fear is this camera's over here and that camera's over here, and you drop a story and now this camera moves through a camera. So it's worth having a person out here to make sure that everything goes well. Plus, again, it gives you some production value. You can do more moving shots, more dolly shots. It's a much more pleasant show. Down there is weather. Weather office is over in here. Operational area. We've experimented with some LED lights in the back to create different looks for the cityscape. This guy can be moved anywhere to give some little, interesting looks to, however you want to do it. So you can move it here, you can pan past it, zoom past it. This guy here is, if I can find something to bring up on it. Yeah.
I'll watch them use that on air.
Yeah.
They have fun with that.
What this is, it's a company called Perceptive Pixel that made this format that basically now people who are doing this are paying the iPad has to pay a royalty to these folks because they're the first to come up with a multi-point mouse. That's really all this is. If I have 1 point, it works like a mouse, okay? Including clicking, whatever. I have 2 points, I can do things with it. I can, well, this one won't rotate. Yeah, can't get the rotation to work. Oh, this one's probably not a rotatable one. But we have numbers of setups here. Let me get on a desktop. So you could bring up standard stuff like Internet Explorer, if I can find it anywhere. Safari, why not? Who cares? Who cares? So you can do interactive stuff and really actually participate in whatever goes on. You select stuff. You got, typical mouse. But normally we leave it on. We have predefined things with the weather set. We also have predefined weather here. I can find it. Oh, no, that's where they have that one. I'm trying to find the weather. No, they don't have it up. Interesting. But, so there's a telestrator function, if I remember how to make that happen. Oh, no, I'm on the wrong one. That's why. See? So you can actually really draw versus, I'm trying to see if I can bring up one other thing here. Yeah, see here? That's my file system. Let me move this over. I make a circle. If I did it right up here. How come it didn't want to go? I guess I'm not completing it right. I did it the one time it came up, but I don't. There it goes. There's your. Yeah, that's your whatever directory you want to go in. So, I don't have the touch.
She does, watch her.
Go ahead, Vicki. No, I tapped it. I just don't have the touch. Yeah. See? Yeah, I can't do it.
She's a pro.
Yes, she is. There we go. Finally. So you can pick a directory. You can get a video feed. See?
Wow.
Okay. Play with the map. Now you did it. We're in Antarctica somewhere. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing. And what we like about it is, yeah, it gives you a way to get into, we've always been looking for a way with telestrators and chroma keys and all the other stuff. And this, the only bad thing about this is that, you have to shoot it from a certain angle because if you don't, you wind up where it's reflective. So it's amazing that it actually looks as well as it does on the air because, it comes off, and you can also see the way the light is. You see where Vicki is now. If she, see? And if she just leans the wrong way, all of a sudden she gets very dark.
Yeah,
So the talent's got to be very careful.
They don't like it because they have to twist their body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a projector?
It's a projector, yeah. There's a projector with a special touch screen on the front that can detect the multiple mouse presses. So it knows what you're trying to do to it, see? See?
What's that? There's a string?
It looks like there's
Yeah,
so much
no.
spill.
Oh no, that's just the background.
See you moving it though?
Oh, that may have been. Well, you know what? That may have been something that was drawn on there. I just was whatever these guys were using. I wasn't sure what they had up, but it's a neat little toy, you know.
There's so much spill light on the screen.
Yeah, but that's why when they shoot it from the one angle, though, you don't see it. It actually looks okay. Yeah,
It's a little soft though, right? The RP is
Yeah.
not as sharp as the- Okay, this,
Yeah.
this picture's coming out of here because the line's going to the top of it?
maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Beats me. I don't play with it all that often. So, oh, this studio is 70 by 60. It's a pretty big studio. There's air conditioning that runs it is, again, all automated, and you know, depending on the talent, it's too warm or it's too cold. So, what do, you know? And of course, I mean, the stuff behind the desk is the standard fare, you know, the usual things. So,
Well, it's a lot bigger than what you used to have.
oh yeah, this is about this is about 2/3 bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have more studio room to work with. Oh, and the floors are like, again, if you've been to KYW, it's the same idea. They're Ardex floors. They're like a 1/16 of an inch difference between one corner and the other corner. Very smooth riding for all the pedestals and everything, and it's got a nice feel to it. It's supposed to keep its shine for 5 years before it needs to be
Bigger
retreated.
than KY's, isn't it? It's bigger than KY's.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then they got that huge office. Well, they got
Yeah.
the black floor, and
Yeah.
you could see every scratch from all the wheels.
Yeah, that's why we went with gray, because we knew black was going to show it up. So, okay, let me show you the engine room downstairs. Yes, that's fun.
Still using 9-volt batteries, huh?
Oh, tons of them. Yeah,
Recharge.
absolutely tons of them.
Dave Knowles tested out some system that takes two AAA batteries and it lasts like a month.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I wish we know. I got to tell you, if they lasted a month, they probably want to change them after every show anyway. Because a lot of times the batteries are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
They just get nervous that it's going to die in the middle of the show, so they change the batteries anyway.
Do you have the monitor for the batteries?
Yeah, but they want to change them anyway. Let's see. Let's wait till we get everybody. I'm not sure we do. We got about half our group.
Oh yeah,
Here they come.
We had boxes of batteries that we used for one show, and everybody
Yeah.
just takes them home. And
That's ingrained every sound person.
Yeah. We got everybody? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, to give you guys an idea where you are, this is the main equipment room. This is where we've got everything in the building. That's the Storage Tech robot John was talking about. And it holds all of the news archives and all the master controls archives, all the productions archives. So everything is there, and it all can be recalled from Front Porch Digital and retransferred to the servers. It's kind of like a virtual storage where master control is looking for something. The automation yells out and goes, oh, where's spot 4026? Somebody yells back. It's either sitting on a SAN, sitting on a server, or it's in the tape, it yells it, pulls it back. Makes it go. Down here, this is all the Grass Valley News. This is Front Porch Digital, and this is all the Grass Valley News system. We have a number of summits that play out. This is the SAN storage for everything. Playout servers on the Y side. Browse terminals for editing, ingest servers, conform servers for doing desktop editing, and all of your ingest channels are right here. So everything is basically in this one rack for news. This is the Ignite system here. This is the room we were in, this way, and going that way is the other production room. And everything's basically a mirror image of everything. So the actual Ignite programs, you can see how well we label these things. This one is Ignite, this one is the audio console. This is what's called a MOS gateway, which is the device that listens to the rundown to find out the things that are supposed to go to the Ignite system. It's in this computer. You have the 2 kayaks, the X switches, processing equipment, closed captioners for each room, audio limiting for each room, and then it repeats.
David's
Yeah.
box.
That's a good unit.
Yeah, we know David now.
Yeah, that's a good unit. So, and again, then it repeats here where you have your 2 audio consoles, your 2 Ignite computers, your MOS gateways, X switches, patching. Another thing about every one of these rows, this is the only one where it's not quite midway, but every row has a rasterizer, and it has a utility KVM, so you can call up all the different computers, all the different sources, router heads, so when you're doing troubleshooting, you know, you can do it right from here and take a look at whatever you need in the house. There's also an intercom panel, so you can yell at somebody when you're working. That's all in the one row. Actually, you know, the funny thing is with most of these, were temporary. They should go. Over here, building UPS, anything that's got an orange outlet in it is into this system. That includes the computers at the desktops, in any of the offices, anything that's critical to staying up is on this UPS, and it's only 37% loaded. And that's all the equipment in this room too. We also have a generator that'll supply power to the whole building, and we also have diverse primary power that comes in with 2 different feeders from 2 different substations. So, yeah, so the rest of these racks are like routing switchers, satellite distribution, X-SAN servers, utility servers. You know, the master.
For expansion.
Well, we do. We actually have free rack rows. Hey, Bill.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Not to embarrass you, but you guys lost a show the other week?
Yeah, that was because of one of those layer 3 switches. Disney pulled. Remember when John was saying, "Don't believe your vendors"?
Yeah.
Verizon pushed out a change, and it scrambled us, and it locked out the whole place because when they reprogrammed the layer 3 switch, they didn't know what was local traffic and what wasn't. So the whole network went down. We lost everything, phones, everything. We kept master control up because the design of master control is to use cache servers to hold the air product and 422 home runs to control the servers. So we didn't lose anything. But we lost all the newsroom computers, so they couldn't put anything together. You couldn't make a phone call, and it was all because of Verizon pushing that change out. And then they reversed the change. Great. But now we had to run around and reset everything. So that's what John was alluding to about Saturdays and don't trust your vendors.
Yeah. You don't have the big red button that reboots everything?
No, because that, unfortunately at the layer 3, that's where the decision is made, what goes out of the building, what stays in the building. And it got the routing map got all confused. And they apologized.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They do always do on the weekend.
Yeah. Master Control is over in here with all of its automation servers and playouts. Now, the reason why it looks like it's smaller is because this is long GOP MPEG. That is DV100. So you need more servers to make 1,000 hours of storage on each side when it's DV100 than when it's long GOP MPEG 50 megabit per second video. I mean, it's amazing the difference in size, but that's why we have less servers. But there's no difference in the storage. The storage is all the same.
And the picture looks the same.
And the picture looks the same. Future rows, again, are racks. We laid them in while we had the chance. Processing equipment. You know, again, and in every row, there's at least 1 or 2 free racks. So if we have to put something in that replaces something, we can keep it in the same logical place. Like right next to our routing switcher is a blank rack. Why? When we replace the routing switcher, we'll put the new one in there, move the cabling, take the old one out. So we already tried to build all that in, you know, so that we had an idea of.
Some way you'll need it.
Yeah, At some point, it's going to happen. Let me take you into master. Yep. Oh, who's the stucky in here? It's Bill and Gene. I know you. How you been? You still work here? You still work here? I just check. Just want to check.
It's okay.
Gene has been here on nights for a long time, and we moved him to days and really screwed his life up for a couple of weeks to do some training and stuff. I kept saying, "Who is this guy?" You know.
I didn't feel right for weeks after that.
But here in Master, we tried to build a couple of interesting things in. For one thing, our automation is just like all the other stuff, it's fully redundant. There's an X side and a Y side. There's an X, what they call AirBoss, X device servers, on and on and on. Y side. One side goes down, you can switch to the backup, keep running. That's the theory. It works, but you know, as good as any computer does. Right now, the way Gene's got this set up is one of these playout lists is for D1, which is the playoffs. D2, which is whatever that Live Well show is that's running. These are two full HD 720p signals that are multiplexed on the transmission. One is 6.1, one is 6.2. Then there's a 6.3, which is the weather channel, which is over here. The master control switcher is an Evertz QMC. There's a full D1, full D2, one panel. You rarely use the panel because everything's through automation. When we put this together, we're trying to figure out again, how do you stay on the air if this goes, if that goes, if this fails, whatever. Everything feeds into these two bypass switchers. So if we lose anything, you notice this bottom row where it's basically, you know, Xeon, which is spelled wrong, switcher, ratings, visitor T, branding, to air. If we lose the box that says ratings, we can take the chain right here and jump around it. We could actually bypass the entire switcher, put the network directly on air. We could put a server directly on air through these breakaway buttons in case anything like this goes down. And that goes for both D1 and D2. So it gives us that emergency backup. Everything we play out, you can see it says play 12, play 22. Play 12 is server 1, port 2. Play 22 is server 2, port 2. And if you look over here, play 11, play 21, similar idea. Server 1, port 1, server 1, or server 2, port 1. We always run, remember the old days of backup reels? We run a backup reel all the time. Every time anything plays, its backup is running on a completely other server at the same time. Something happens, it doesn't replicate across, the file is corrupt, the operator can come over here and manually select the other server and then update their automation if they needed to, like if all of a sudden the server developed a problem. So there's no need to make backup reels anymore. We always run a backup reel on everything.
TFTES 911.
Yeah, they're supposed to be replaced this year.
Are they?
Yeah, they're coming up with a new standard called CAP.
Right.
And they said we got to have it by the end of the year, but the standard hasn't been designed yet.
Ooh,
Okay, yeah.
You're not going to get an extension either.
No.
How do you trigger your brakes? You got a live show.
All the brakes are basically out of here. He has a panel that can select which is 6.1 or 6.2. We trigger it. We trigger it. Well, what we basically do is we have a rundown sheet, which is a timing sheet from the network. Gene's probably got somewhere, right there, and he just goes through the brakes manually. And when the time comes, we hit, yeah, paper. Yeah, I know. We have paper logs still, too.
This is where Josh works?
Yeah, this is where Josh works. Drive him crazy, yeah.
I trained him.
Yeah. Oh, he's good. He's good.
Yeah, I was training him on something. I come in, he had it all loaded up before you
Well,
started.
this here, remember when I was mentioning everybody? With Josh and another guy, Buddy, who I think, is Buddy still here or did he go home?
I haven't seen him.
Okay. Josh especially, when we came up with the idea, the concept of master, Stu and I sat with him, worked through all the stuff and said, look it, we need you to figure out how you think all this should be designed and laid out. And then we want you to bounce it off everybody else, and then we want to approve it, but this is your baby. So him, the guy Bill Arteles, who's working in the corner over there, and Buddy Moya basically worked on this, and Josh made a full mock-up of this in his kitchen. drove his wife nuts. Then when we had the thing, we fleshed it out with the guys again, went through another plan and said, okay, this is what we're building. We talked to Steve Goldberg, who was at the meeting. He built the consoles, and we put it in. The best part was, these guys all pretty well designed the room. We just said what we wanted it to do. I wanted the breakaways, I wanted this, I wanted the intercom, I wanted to have tally lines, I wanted to have a standalone switcher in case router in case the main router went down. I wanted to be able to use the main router in case the standalone went down.
How do you bill through your billing then to this?
Well, when all this comes, there's a reconciliation program runs against an electronic copy of the as-run log. And traffic runs that every morning. And so then they just know what ran and what times they ran at.
So does traffic dump their stuff in here? Or
Yeah, well, traffic dumps it in here, and then we massage it, and then we create as-run files that traffic pulls back. And it's all done over the network. Nobody actually comes in here. There are no disks or anything like that. Then over here, this is a virtual master control. When we do soccer games or live football events on D2, it's too confusing for this guy to do this and another live show at the same time. Slide a guy over here, we split the console, again with all the KVMs and everything here. See, there's another panel. He takes control of D2, and this is master control for D2. So when we need to, we can split them. When we don't need to, they're in one spot being run by one guy. So we have that capability built in.
D2 is running off your own server?
Yeah, yeah, it's all running off that transmission list and off those servers up there. Actually, Play 12 and Play 22 are running the show right now. All of those are every ABC station contributes to Live Well. They're packaged in Fresno and then sent out over MPLS circuits that John showed you guys. Lands on landing pads here into our servers on the air. So that's how the distribution works for that. You notice some of these things say no audio, hopefully no closed captioning, see 6-1 switcher. This is all that Evert stuff I was talking about behind the scenes we have enabled here, so the operator knows there's a problem. Now, that no CC right now is really not a problem. We're in a commercial break. You don't need closed captioning on commercials. But if it comes up and there is closed captioning, that'll go out, see? If there was audio was missing, there'd be an audio alarm.
I like that the big size of it, gets
Yeah,
attention.
yeah. So you know what's going on. And plus, you know, we can watch the other stations, we can watch the control rooms, we can watch the outputs of some of the production servers, the radar.
What is the software using on that?
This is called FloraCal automation. Yeah, yeah,
That's nice software.
yeah. And then the guys have utility routers here. We have 3 tie lines from the house router, and then we have our own standalone router. And again, the idea is in case something goes wrong. The way FloraCal manages everything exists on the SAN. When the log needs it, it pulls it across and makes a local copy on a local server. So if we lose the SAN, we've got 36 hours of storage already in a cache. That's what saved us when we had that network problem. We already had the material. It was already moved over. So we had 3 days worth of stuff already on each server as a backup. We can also air directly off the SAN. There's no reason why you can't. But it's just that's done very rarely. You know, if something comes in at the last minute and there's not time to replicate, they will change it and they'll say we're going to use something called Play 32, which is one of the directly connected to the SAN playout engines. And we can play it out that way. Ingest is done over there. And again, there's a tape island, doesn't go to air, but it's for people who are bringing in, we still get clients who bring in all kinds of variety of tapes, so we can ingest it in real time. A lot of our stuff arrives as FTP transfers. We have an FTP server that's exposed to the outside world. We also use DG systems, we use Pathfire, you know, all that stuff, so it all arrives.
Video control here too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, video control. We're still trying to figure out what to do with that big panel because that was an add-on and we don't know. So when we decide we're going to keep it, we'll cut a hole. And then EAS and master, you know, transmitter control and everything else is done over there.
Right. Did you say this is the final stop before it goes out there?
Yeah, this is it. From here it hits air. So what we do is we monitor Comcast, DirecTV, Dish Network, and our over-the-air. So we watch them all. So when Comcast screws up or takes us off, we call them and they go, well, everything is okay. It must be channel 6. We are channel 6. We're calling you to say there's a problem. You know, in all fairness, you don't know where the help centers are. So how do they know? You know, so, but it gives us a chance.
Comcast log is what you're saying.
Huh?
Running a separate Comcast log.
Yeah, we're on a separate Comcast log. We feed out separate commercials to Comcast. And we watch, again, all of the different stuff we put on the air. See, Bambi has no captioning on it right now. See? And then when it comes back, it'll come back. We monitor all the audio. Yep.
Lisa Thomas, Laurie.
Where?
She's still with the.
She's still with us, yeah.
Still with you.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing about the audio in this place. We made a decision not to synthesize the audio. So 5.1 is 5.1, 2.0 is 2.0. And we have equipment that actually detects and remaps on the fly the audio channels. So if it's a 2.0 source, it will remap the stereo pairs correctly so that it comes out the right speakers. And if it's 5.1, it will remap and put them out the right speakers instead of that synthesized stuff, because it just sounded awful. Our audio sounds so much better in this building because we don't synthesize anymore. You know? So basically what Master sees is, you know, they can see right there in front of Gene, he's got all the audio channels now. You know, this is a 5.1 show. But if it was a 2.0 map, it would switch. And it's all done within, oh God, I'm trying to think. 8 milliseconds? Very quick, silent switch. You know, you don't even detect it. You know, it just looks for, you know, it just looks for the characteristic energy in those different, you know, channels.
How are audio level differences handled?
When we found there's two things that help us amazingly. We have a Compander linear acoustics device that sits in line at our embedding source in a Miranda box. We also make sure anything that we ingest in goes through an audio leveler so that it is always no greater than 20 dB, you know, minus 20 dBFS, and no lower than minus 16 dBFS, so that it's kind of like garbage in, garbage out. So between that and the leveling devices, it stays pretty consistent. The only thing that once in a while we get fooled by is when the network or Regis and Kelly or something like that is having a bad day. Like this morning, Regis and Kelly was having a bad day. Everything coming out of New York was about 4 dB hot. And every time we switched to them, it was like, you know, you'd hear everything cranking in and compressing down. So we have the ability to override any one of the channels here, and you can actually lower the levels. It's just, it's a pain in the ass. But for all the internal stuff, that's really like what Bill's doing right now, is he's making sure that everything that goes in the system is perfect. And once it's in there, it should always play out perfect because there's no handles from that point on.
But if something's highly compressed, the VU reading would be low and still
Right, and you have a lot of, and that's why the loudness controllers are in that Miranda chipset. You know, they supposedly follow that loudness algorithm when it comes to spectral energy.
So that's still done automatically, not by a person.
Yeah. Well, a person that sometimes it's hard. I mean, I got to tell you, when I listen to half this stuff, you know, I sit back, I don't mind a little dynamic range. You know, I really don't. You know, and I thought that was the reason why we went digital and why we had dial norm and everything else, was so that you can run a symphony and a hockey game and have all this preserved thing. And people still bitch, it's too loud, you turn up the volume. It's like, but it was supposed to be that way, you know?
And the other, of course, problem is the networks can't agree on
No.
the absolute levels.
No, that's why well, they can't even agree on a dial norm level.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, I think ABC is 31.
And PBS has changed about 3 times.
Yeah, I can't remember what ours is. I think it's 31. Well, and also, just to let you know, Comcast and Verizon and everybody else override those dial norm readings anyway to make it whatever they want to match their system. So it doesn't matter what we transmit. So it even makes it worse on top of it.
And the loudness is so user.
Yeah. And again,
Somebody in front of a 100 dB symphony and they'll love it.
Yeah.
Put them in a 100 dB rock band and they'll hate it.
they'll hate it.
Exactly.
You know, or my favorite thing is, you know, you go from this quiet talking show to, you know, a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. Yeah. You turned up the volume. No, we didn't. It's different spectral energy. You know, and that's where the loudness controllers help, but they're still not perfect. What you really need is a good loudness standard, and they start to need to write metadata to go with the audio channels that can be interpreted and reprogram the dial norms and dial mod settings on the fly so that you duplicate what was intended. And then you don't have to, but nobody's doing that. So, well, let me show you around a little bit more. We're almost done with the bottom floor.
Where's the budget?
What was the budget for this? None of your business. All I was told, I know that the tech budget was over $20 million. The building budget, I don't know, but what they tell me, it is about the cost of a ride at Disney World. So
how much floor space do you have here compared to the old building?
the old building was 34,000 square feet. This is 110. Yeah.
Hank, did you ever have a concern about having all the master control and everything in the basement because the old place had a flood?
Yes,
one time?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was a big concern. And unfortunately, though, the way the workflow worked, the only way it could work was to put it down there. You know, we needed to have the space here for the studios and the control rooms and the news folks. It wouldn't work upstairs, you know, because of office space and such. There wasn't enough room to work downstairs. And so we're taking a gamble that the same problem won't happen again. There really isn't any plumbing in the engineering area, and we don't also have the issue with the curtain wall like we had in the old building, which is really what hurt us, because the water just ran right through the curtain wall, unstopped. You know, there was no real area. Here you've got the first, you know, the ground floor is cement block and poured concrete, so it's hard to get any intrusion behind that. But yeah, that was a concern. I was here when that was one of my first things when the flood happened. We had 3 floods, 2 gas leaks, 3 fires, all during the construction. It was a joy.
The building was
In the old
getting
building.
tired, right? It was telling you it was getting tired.
My favorite one was the one gas leak, because they were digging out here around the gas main. And we told them, be careful. Oh, no, you should hand dig. Oh, no, I've been doing this for 30 years. Zing. It's coming in. It's coming to the ground floor. We're evacuating people. We're worried about that. PGW's on their way over. And, you know, da-da-da. Unfortunately, went through the building. Nothing ignited. We're still here. You know. The water one, that was ridiculous, because it was basically because the water department couldn't find the shutoff valve. It took 3 hours to get to the case where the building started to get flooded. Up till then, we were okay. We were treading. It was coming in. You know, all we got to do is, gee, another 5-10 minutes, find the valve. We're fine. They couldn't find the shutoff valve. You know what was amazing? We got the mayor and the fire commissioner down here, and you know they found the shutoff valve awfully quick. Then they suddenly went into a high-pitched gear, looking.
Do you have the ability to give your transmitter take control in case something catastrophic happens?
Yes, we have the ability to do a couple of things. We can do that. And the way we can do that is we have a satellite receiver out there. We take one of our satellite trucks, our production truck. We just take the satellite truck, go, bring it in. Second way is that we have a DirecTV receiver out there, tuned to WABC in New York. Remember this whole asset sharing thing? They can, over the network, grab our files. And eventually they'll be able to grab our files from Burbank. They could load up the FloorCal automation up there. They could run the station from there, come in on satellite. And we're rebuilding our Wilmington and Trenton bureaus so that from either one of those we can take control. That's a project that's ongoing right now. So it just gives us, plus, if we had to vacate the building, but the building was okay, we can run most of these systems from laptop computers remotely. So I can log into master control, I can control the building management system, you know, we can look at all the servers, everything else remotely from home.
So you guys aren't hubbing?
No.
You're doing everything here?
Yeah, we're doing everything here. We do bring in some store and forward content from Fresno for D2, you know, but everything else is done here.
Your artwork?
Everything. Yeah, everything's done here. Well, hope you guys had a good time. I gotta go pick up some paper and I gotta find Steve. There's Steve. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Hope you enjoyed it.